Good morning. I thought we'd talk about the revolver a little bit. I've seen plenty of comments and posts and looking for advice on the subreddit about different training locks and what to start with and what a good practice lock is. And of course, these are my opinions. You ask anybody, ask 10 people their opinion, you're going to get 10 different answers. But I do own a set of progressive locks that have one spool, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this one has some spool pins in it. I use those in the beginning, and then I really haven't used them too much since. I do have the Ultimate Adversary lock, which is a 7-pin lock. I do use this quite a bit. I use this for testing out new pins that I'm playing around with, or I'll have my wife pin it up randomly with random keying and what have you. And I use that as a good training lock, so I do still use this quite a bit. I also have a buddy that I work with that's in the locksport. He has one as well, so there's quite a few times where we pin these up for each other and just swap them and what have you, and just do kind of a simple challenge lock. The revolver, on the other hand, I use almost daily. This thing has grown with me, and the nice thing is when it first comes, it comes with everything pinned up. You have your straight pins in. Let's see if we can zoom in just a little bit. We have our straight pins in cylinder 1, spools in cylinder 2, serrated in cylinder 3, and mushrooms in cylinder 4. Well, after you get through those, then you can start mixing it up every which way from Sunday. And what I've done, and this is my current pinup, so I have it just pinned up with standard driver pins. That's the key pinning that I have, and I'll talk about the keys in just a second. And then, but I've pinned this up with standard. I've pinned them up with some of the specialty pins that I've gotten over the years. You might recognize these as some of the Sparrows pins based off of Lock Noob's creativity with his chest and checkers, Scrooge pins, munition pins, and such. But I also throw my own pins in there and play around with it. But currently I'm using this as just a warm-up lock with standard pins. And you will notice that I do have T-pins in there, which I'll talk about as well, because there's a little bit of extra care that you have to take in consideration for T-pins, or pins that are rather pokey, or have like this top hat on the snowman, and such. But one of the things that I've also done is I have the Sparrows Reload kit. And so going through and doing the progressive, or the rakeable, and then the high low high, low high low, and then the 6-pinner. And what I did is I went ahead and made up a 6-pin version of those, as well as, because this is based off the Schlage SC1 keyway, went ahead and made up a key with the maximum, the max MCAS that I could, and that's what's currently, like I said, pinned up in my revolver right now. And as you can see, I even added serrations to those pins because I love myself. One of the other suggestions that has been made, and I really do need to go back and try to figure out who the heck made the suggestion, is even after you go through your standard setup with the revolver, pick through it. And after you're done picking through it with, say, your standard hook, pick through it again with your next single pin pick, and then your next single pin pick, and then your next single pin pick. So what I was doing is, and I thought that was a wonderful idea, so I had it just pinned up the way it came from Sparrows, and then I would pick around it with every single pin pick that I had, and that gives you an idea of how those different picks feel on different security pins and within the SC1 keyway. And then I would go ahead and change out the key to another key with the same setup, pick through it again with each one of my picks to feel what it felt like. And the nice thing about that is, especially when you get to the low-high lows or the high-low-high, where you have to reach around pins and what have you, it made me appreciate some of these deeper hooks and how they can act on the keyway, which is one of the things that, because personally I like the Peterson gem. That seems to be my go-to pick. The one over here in 15 thousandths, or not 15, 18 thousandths especially. And there's times where it's like, nope, use a deep hook. Got to use a deep hook. And this is what reminds me to do that, especially since I have it pinned up with this nasty little keyway right there, is that I find myself using these two hooks a little bit more. But then I realize that this is an SC1 keyway, and I can do this with 25 thousandths. And it's like, you know what, let's go ahead and put a little thicker pick in there, because it can be done, absolutely. And that way I get used to using the thicker picks on stuff that I can use them on, and it doesn't put as much wear on these, where I use those on quite a few of my other locks. So that's some ideas of what you can do. The only other thing that I've done to this lock in particular, and this was an idea that I saw posted not too long ago, and again, I really need to do a better job about figuring out where to give the credit. But if you look through the posts, somebody had marked, so I took a small scratch awl with a rubber mallet and went ahead and marked it 1, 2, 3, 4, so I could see it from this end, instead of having to just rely on that and then counting as I go around. And I marked them on top there too. So that's the only modification I've made to that. I haven't threaded the cylinders or anything else. Let me go ahead and load up the core here. And like I said, you can do T-pins and vampire pins and little pointy pins, munition pins. You can put pretty much anything in there. You got to remember, this is 4 locks in one, or 4 Bibles in one. And as you rotate around, that's where you can run into some problems. But as long as you know that those problems exist, then you should be fine. So let's go ahead and slide that core back in. There we go. And drop that guy in. Drop that guy in. With mine, I've learned to take about 2 off. Okay, that is the right key. Okay, so after I get to whatever cylinder I'm going to work on, basically what I'll end up doing is I'll place tension on the core, because like I said, this is pinned up and it has T-pins and all sorts of stuff, and I don't remember what positions are in what, because I have it more or less randomly pinned. I'll take whatever hook I'm going to do, and then I slide it down the bottom of the keyway. And I don't know if you heard that click. There's another click. So that was 2 possibly T-pins or pointer pins and what have you, and there was rotation on the core. So now those are free because you have that channel in the back of the core, and I can go ahead and pick this to the next position. And then once I get to the next position, I'll put tension on the core again, run this down. And that time I didn't get them trapped. I'm trying to purposely trap them on purpose. There's one. There we go. So there you go. Just run it down to push those back up in the Bible, get them out of that channel, and now I can go ahead and pick and turn. But this, I don't know, I like this lock because it travels with me very easily. You got 4, you can pin it up every which way from Sunday, have somebody randomly pin it up. You can progressively pin it up. And like I said, it's a good warm-up lock, good training lock, and I'm still using it, like I said, almost daily when I'm sitting watching movies It's just a great lock to have. It has a good feel in hand. It's nice and big and comfortable to handle. So those are some ideas for the revolver and how it can be used as you progress through locksport, and how it can continue to be used. I'm approaching blue belt, and I still use this lock very regularly. And other than this one for testing and trading with my buddy here locally, you know, I still use this one. And out of all the beginner locks I have, and I don't even have the acrylic lock that the clear lock and the metal cutaway Chinese practice lock. But out of all the practice locks that I started with, this one has kind of remained a staple, and I use it consistently. So hopefully some of this information helps, and it gives some ideas of how this can grow with you. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to let me know, and take care.